Unexcelled in the sorcery of crystalline singing prose and supreme in the creation of a gorgeous and languorous world of iridescently exotic vision is Edward John Morton Drax Plunkett, 18th Baron Dunsany, whose tales and short plays form an almost unique element in our literature. Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host Liam, aka Himvar, and today I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of Lord Dunsany's The King of Elfland's Daughter. The King of Elfland's Daughter is a 1924 fantasy novel, a standalone by Lord Dunsany, or Edward Plunkett, 18th Baron of Dunsany. Now, there are lots of quotes about this author. In fact, if you go read From Elfland to Poughkeepsie by Ursula K. Le Guin, she will praise Dunsany highly. And that quote, actually, that I opened this video with was from H.P. Lovecraft in his supernatural horror literature essay, and that is how he opens talking about Dunsany, and he goes on and says more good things about Dunsany. This is not the first Dunsany book. I should say this is not the first Dunsany I've read. It was his first novel I have read, though. And I actually did a portfolio report on this essay. I mean, I looked at it historically, and I looked at it from a formalist perspective, but I also looked at it as a multicultural perspective. Since it's interesting that Lord Dunsany is Anglo-Irish, he's essentially, part of the nobility of England, and he's Protestant, right? But he lived a good chunk of his life in Ireland, and he was the baron of an area in Ireland. Of course, he lived in a castle. He wrote most of his works in a castle in Ireland, and he's an interesting character, but I won't get too much into that. This review will be a little different because it's going to be slightly looking at my notes, which are a huge mess. Okay, huge mess. But I don't have my portfolio in front of me, and that would take almost 20 minutes to go through, so I don't think you'd want that. If someone does, let me know, but I don't know if I do it anyways. So anyways, the preface in this book, at least my copy, tells readers not to be scared away by the strangeness of the world. It's really mostly set in the common English fields and woods. And when compared to something like The Hashish Eater, which is kind of contemporary, came out in 1920, I feel like there's a little chance that this is going to feel super weird for me. And fantasy fans 100 years later are probably not going to find this very weird either. But Dunsany is a master, I would say, at tone and just giving you this magical feeling, so it does feel very magical. And he has also a quote from another contemporary on the front of the book by Lovecraft, who I quoted earlier. So the book starts off in the land of Earl, right? A parliament of men of Earl discuss, or rather complain, about the lack of newness in the last centuries, even though the lord of their land has been just. They want something new and exciting, right? So the Lord of Earl sends his son Alfric to go and marry Princess Lyrizel of Elfland. He takes his father's ancient sword, but feels he'll need a magic one among the elves and their magic. So to remedy this, he goes to Zirundarel, I think, a grotesque witch, which oddly does not frighten Alfric, and so he's able to gain an enchanted blade of Dreamland. Elfland here seems to be the other world of Irish myth, like a Tir na Nog. It's right on the edge, right there in this land of Earl is a liminal space, right, that you can tell also just by the by its name alone, right? Erl, which are almost, Erl is in German kind of means elf. At least that's how it is in like Erlkönig, right? Goethe's poem. Erl is actually not etymologically related to the word elf, funnily enough, but it means elf somewhat in German. So you get this idea, like, right, there's something here. They're neighboring the elves. The forest is just over there, right? And so you have this feeling of myth, and this weird idea of like truth and how it's taught, essentially, right? And we also have, again, another name. Alfric itself means elf ruler, which is actually kind of foreshadowing. I mean, I said this is a non-spoiler review. I'm not going to tell you exactly how it ends, so I won't go over my formalist, like rising action, climax, stuff like that, just for people's sake who get their panties in twists about that stuff. But this novel's almost 100 years old. But even here, he uses something like Elfin as well, over the archaic Elven, which Tolkien popularized in his Lord of the Rings. But overall, it feels like a very ethereal fantasy. It's got some romantic elements. It's kind of reminds me at parts of Clark Ashton Smith, of William Morris, of Goethe. Heath reminds me some of Thomas Hardy. And, he just does a great job. He's really hard to quote, I feel like, in this book, because there's a lot of great quotes, but they're long, and you don't want to break up a part of it because it just ruins the magic. He has great use of apostrophe, similes, personification, and these interesting characters, right, of Florizel and Orion. There's a unicorn in this novel for those interested, and as well as this magic and like the great power of this magic, but its tendency to not last to a degree, and how the story kind of goes into this melancholy where it's like good but also bad at the end, and we're not sure how things are going to play out, right? And this kind of ties into Dunsany's ideas of feudalism, which he actually liked, but he realized there was some setbacks to it. But anyways, I won't go any more into this, but this is a good one. You should read it. Maybe celebrate its 100-year anniversary next year, and it's rather short as well. So anyways, Liam from Liam's Lyceum, I'll catch you next time.